Welcome back. This is Kaya Redford. Okay, we are now at step 4 of the 10 steps to being a master of influence and communication. And step 4 is how to ask the right questions. How to ask empowering questions rather than bossing and telling people what to do. More like inspiring them by asking them questions and making them want to do it. I had an experience here in Los Angeles training a law firm. They had 2 owners, 2 partners. They had about 11 lawyers, and they had about 40 case coordinators. And they had roughly about 2,500 workers' comp cases in the flow. And it was interesting, they had big issues, and I was brought in to help them solve some of their problems. Number one, their productivity wasn't very good. That was kind of down. Their customer service was absolutely terrible. And just a lot of people there were it was just negative, bad energy, negative energy. And what I discovered upon arriving at this firm was that they weren't asking questions. They were just basically telling people what to do. And the reason why people were there was because they were there to get a paycheck. And with the economy at the time, it was kind of risky to know that, for someone to leave that job and to expect to find a similar paycheck somewhere else. So it was almost like the paycheck was the reason why they were there. And if you think about that mindset, that culture, that's not a culture that's any fun to be part of. So we came in and we started to work with them. The very first thing we realized is that owners were bossing, telling the lawyers. The lawyers were going to court, dealing with whatever they dealt with in court. If they had a good day at court, they might have come back in a better mood. But if they had a bad day in court, which was more often the case, they would come back with all this negative energy from court. And of course, what would they do? They would dump on the case coordinators. And the case coordinators that were rotating 2,500 cases were overworked. And they kept getting phone calls from the, clients, the workers' comp cases, kept calling in, wondering when am I going to, get money so that I can pay for my medications and my this and my that. And eventually the case coordinators who got so frustrated because of the inability and the communication in the office, the case coordinators were passing the buck. People pass the buck to here, passing the blame to someone else. And eventually what happened is that the poor clients were suffering the brunt of all that negative energy. In some cases, the case coordinators got frustrated with the clients on the phone and would even hang up on them. Disastrous, yes. So when they brought me in to work with them, and as I've done with many other companies, first thing I noticed is in the culture, there was a lot of bossing, a lot of telling, a lot of, you do this because I said so. Now let me ask you this, how does that feel when anybody's ever tried? I bet you they didn't get away with it, but when someone's tried to boss you and tell you what to do, what does that feel like? It doesn't feel good, yeah? It doesn't feel good at all. It almost feels like they don't see the value in us when they do that. So what we're wanting to learn is how to communicate and how to influence through asking questions. Of course, there are scenarios where we need to boss, and you're going to be surprised that I said that. Why? Well, why don't we always ask questions? So there's certain businesses or certain roles in life where you got to boss. Think of military. Okay, if you were to ask questions while there's casualties on the field, that might not be. Sometimes you need to say go. You need to get a direct order, and asking questions and taking time to ask questions may put lives in danger. Make sense? So let's not judge bossing. Let's just say that there's times when we want to boss because if the scenario calls for it, and there's times when we want to ask questions. I find a lot of companies, they spend way too much time bossing. So we probably want to spend more time asking questions, maybe 60% of our time or more, slightly, asking questions, and minimize the bossing to a little bit less than that. So when we're asking questions, what would we like to know? Well, we'd like to find out with the person we're communicating with, what is their wants? What are their deepest wants? What are their deepest needs? What are their deepest values? By the way, the values are what is specifically most important to a person. So write that down. We know what wants are, we know what needs are. You know, we use these words sometimes in our language, but values is a little bit different. Values means what is most important to a person. So we're basically asking them what's most important to them. Then we also have the emotions, which means how do they feel about a certain situation or thing. And then finally the criteria, which is pretty obvious. What is it specifically that they want? If it's a house, the criteria would be, you know, how large is the house, what city, what location, how many bedrooms, bathrooms. That would be the criteria. So what we want to do is we want to start asking questions. Now, would you like to know how to ask the right questions? Would you like to know how to ask the right questions to elicit naturally, organically, conversationally, someone's deepest wants, someone's deepest needs, their values, their emotions, how they feel about it, and their criteria, such that you can help them get what they want? Yes? Have you ever been to an event where someone came up to you and just pushed their energy on you? They kept talking about what they do and they never really got to know you? Do you ever had that experience? Almost like a networking event where you feel like someone is just comes up to you and just vomits all over you, everything about them, and you're like, ugh. Have you had that experience? Would you like to learn how, you know, to better communicate in a way where you're able to really tap into who the person is, how you can honor that person in such a way that they feel valued, they feel important, and you can kind of light their energy up because they feel like you really get to know them? Would you like to learn how to do that? So what I'd like to do is I'd like to show you my hand. And instead of us talking to someone, let's say we're going to talk to this person, instead of us just talking to them and saying this, that, and the other, what we're learning to do is, instead of first selling or pushing or promoting everything that is about us or what we do, we want to actually ask questions. We want to find out what their deepest wants are. We want to find out what their deepest needs are, what their values are, what's important to them, that is, what their emotions are, in other words, how they feel about that thing that we're helping them with, and what their criteria is, which is what are the details, the actual features, the specifics that they're looking for. And what we want to do is we want to find out these 5 things first. And then us as a communicator here, we want to actually match their 5 things. See how I'm matching it? Which makes them very what? It makes them very receptive. Have you had an experience where, let's say this is the person you were talking to, and let's say this is you speaking to them. Have you had a situation where you're like, ooh, you're like, it's everything just misses. Like you don't find like you're really connecting on the dots. Have you ever had that experience? Yes? Would you like to be able to change that so that you can have the knowledge and wherewithal to ask the right questions, so that by the time that you do talk about yourself, your products, your services, or how you can help them, that your communication actually serves to match perfectly what it is that they need? Make sense? Make sense? Now, does that mean that everybody is our client? No. What if, once we find out what their deepest wants, needs, values, emotions, and criteria are, what if we find out that we're really not the ideal person for that? We're not really a match to work together. That's totally fine. Then you can guide them and help them, refer them to someone else. And by referring them to someone else, guess what's going to probably happen? That person that you referred them to is likely, your friend who you referred them to, is likely to meet people that they're not a complete match for to help. And they may refer clients to you. So really this is a win-win-win. Now, would you like to learn what these powerful questions are? Would you like to learn the powerful questions to find out what their wants, their needs, their values, their emotions, and their criteria are? Would you like to learn how to speak to those things so you really connect the dots? Yes? Do you think that would help you get even more yeses in your life? Do you think that would help you serve your clients even better? and get even more business and perhaps repeat business and create the win-win-win. Do you think so? Absolutely. So think about the power in that. And think about how amazing it would be for you to be able to connect on those dots with someone. Awesome. So what questions do you have that you could ask someone that could inspire them to do business with you and take action with you? Would you like to know what are the exact right questions to ask this person so that in a sense you're almost talking themselves to doing a business with you? So let's say you're communicating with them and you want them to do business with you. Would you like to ask the right questions that not only finds out their deepest wants, their needs, their values, their emotions, and their criteria, but also gets them talking themselves into doing business with you, getting them leaning in. When you meet them, they'll be asking you for your business card. They'll be asking for you to set an appointment with them because they want to do business with you. Would you like to be able to attract clients like that? Yes? Awesome. So when we worked with that attorney's firm and we taught them this new way of thinking, they all realized, oh my gosh, we're spending all this time bossing. No wonder why there's so much negative energy there, and no wonder why no one was really doing their job. And when we're able to shift the way that they were talking to themselves, between themselves, and also with their clients, their customer service skyrocketed. And what we discovered is their productivity as an office on all of their cases increased by 38% in the first month. And then the CEO brought us back and said, look, if this is what you can do, 38% increase is a huge increase on 2,500 workers' comp cases in cases closed. If you think about any professional sports, if you increased your batting by 38%, or you increased your free throw percentage, or you increased your home run hitting percentage by 38%, you'd be in Hall of Fame in 1 second. Would you agree? So they brought us back, and then the very second month, we did the same thing. We started to share with them some more tools, the same tools that I'm going to be sharing with you throughout the course of this program. And then it was very amazingly strange. They had another 38% increase. It was 38% point something. It was slightly different, but it was very close to the same increase. The second month, when we totaled up their percentage increase from first month to second month, they had a, what's 30 and 30, 60, 70, 76% increase in their production in just 60 days. Quite amazing. We have an amazing testimonial from them. Would you like to learn how to do that for yourself, for your own relationships with people that you love and care about, with your own business? Would you like to be able to increase your productivity and your we could call it your closing ratio, because you're improving the way you communicate and you're connecting the dots with your clients? Would you like to do that? Would that change your life dramatically? Would it? Awesome. Throughout the course of this program, I'm going to be teaching you how to do that, the tools and strategies to do that. Are you excited? Awesome. Awesome. Good video. I'll see you on the next one.